Hey everyone, I am doing double duty here. Number one, watching our little boy Henry, and number two, answering business questions. So let's see how this goes. This is from Philip2J on Reddit asking about a situation where he got hired on to sort of oversee marketing, only to find out that the business has done zero marketing and needs a lot of help. So if my job is to start a marketing practice from scratch, I do the following. Number one, start with a strategy, and then two, I activate it. So from a strategy perspective, I want to find out who your customers are, what their interests are, what their motivations are, where they go, what they search for, and what type of mindset they're in. So create a persona. Look at past customers, look at where they buy, how often they buy, and pay attention to the decisions they make. I would look at all the data that you guys have, email addresses, put pixels on your website, and you can actually get a sense of the type of buyers that you have by looking at lookalike audiences from like Facebook or Google. And when you know what your customers' motivations are, then you take the next step. And the next step is to identify what your customers want from you. And often I say that because it's kind of actually very difficult for companies to know what their customers want from them, unless you're an established company and you've gotten that feedback. And you can ask your customers, you can look at testimonials, or, and this is what I recommend, there's a real-time nature to advertising and marketing in the year 2019 and going into 2020. And so what that really means is you are setting up marketing opportunities to let the marketplace give you feedback. So from a content marketing perspective, you put out 100 pieces of content, you see which messages are most interesting to customers. So which messages get the highest engagement rate, the most clicks, the most comments, etc. Those messages give you an indication of what your customers want from you. The next step is to run advertising. When you know which messages resonate best with customers, you run ads, and you do the same thing. You run 10, 20, 100 different creative executions to find out which creative executions are the most interesting to your customers based on click-through rate, engagement, likes, comments, shares on like Facebook, and which ones drive the most performance for you, right? So the example here is, you can use a male model, a female model, and the picture of a building, right? And so you can identify which model is most interesting to customers, or which background, or which imagery, or which pricing, right? So you really have the opportunity to look at digital advertising into 2020 and look at it as a real-time focus group. What I recommend ultimately is make a decision between time and money. You either have time and not as much money. And when I say not as much, I don't mean you have no money. I just mean that you have greater aspirations than you have money to build. And if you have more time than money, you spend time doing value-driven content marketing. Identify the places in digital environments where your customers go, talk to them, give them value, give them information, tell stories, do things that are valuable for them. And then if you have money, you do the same types of things, except you're doing it with advertising, and you're telling stories through advertising with different messages. And those messages end up giving you the insight about what works. But if you're not sure, default to time, and then when you have the right messages, amplify them with paid media, with money. So that's where I would start.